Hello, thanks so much for joining me today to talk about creative society again. And so today I offer to talk about what kind of relationships should be between people in creative society. I would like to start with a small story that happened to me very, very long ago. Somehow it had such a huge impact on me. Until this day, I remember it. And when I imagine the perfect world and when I think and dream about the perfect society, somehow this situation keeps coming to my mind. So today I would like to share it. It happened to me when I was quite young. I was in university and it was my first flight abroad. And I didn't have a bank card, so the only things I had was just like, yeah, some luggage, phone with a bad battery, and just a bit of cash on me. And since I traveled with my friends who I knew very well, I thought, no issues, should come up. When we were coming back already, we were in the airport and my friend's flight, it was a bit earlier, half an hour earlier. So my friends, they left and I stayed in the airport to sit and wait for my flight. At that time, also, like, I didn't know what to do in such situations because, like, a while after, they announced that my flight was canceled for like 5 hours or so. And first, it was canceled for just like a few hours, so I wasn't panicking or anything. I was just like reading some book and so on. And then, as it was canceled for longer and longer periods of time. So, like, I spent like eventually it was almost 12 hours, and like in the half of this period I remember I already spent all the money I had like on food. So in the middle of this period I was already hungry. I almost didn't have any battery charge. I didn't know how to charge it. I didn't have money on my mobile phone to like call family and to inform them that they shouldn't meet me, back in Ukraine and so on. And at some point, like, I couldn't also even go to the like toilet or something because I had all this luggage with me and I didn't know, how to leave it there. And I was really like panicking and I didn't know what to do. I was alone. I didn't know anyone. I couldn't go really back anywhere because I didn't have money. And I remember I was sitting there really like panicking, all emotional. And there was a group of guys of from some eastern country. I never knew from which one. And they also had some friend who was flying, and so they like said goodbye to him and something like that. And then one of the guys, he saw me, he saw that I was upset and like crying and so on, and then he came to me and like offered his help. And was as I said, I was young and I was like very scared of this, especially, sometimes we have, unfortunately, again, lots of prejudice towards people from like certain countries that look in a certain way, like Easternish. And like, yeah, I didn't want his help at first. I was even more scared because of this. And then he said a thing that, no, like, you look like one of us. And, in our nation, in our culture, we never leave a person in need because, like, we're all brothers and sisters. So you're my sister and I'm going to help you. And, like, I'm going to do everything possible. So, like, don't worry. Like, everything's going to be fine. And after some time, like, I was talking to him, I realized that, yeah, I could feel that he's a good person, and I calmed down a bit. And his other friends left long ago, and this person, I don't even remember his name. I knew nothing about him. I never contacted him again in my life. He never contacted me, but this person stayed with me for like all the hours. It was like very late. It was, I guess, already morning, and he paid for my food and he topped up my phone and he allowed me to use like his phone for whatever I needed. And he stayed with like my luggage and stuff, and he was trying to like tell some, funny stories to cheer me up and so on. And he stayed with me all the time until I was like safe, boarding the plane already, just like waved. And he never wanted anything in return. He never, asked for my phone number or anything. And it's just like this one thing that he kept saying. He was calling me sister. And I don't know, it's like it has such a huge impact on me because, as I said, maybe also because it was my first travel. And somehow this got imprinted in me that, the world should be this way. And when I dream about the creative society, I think these They're the type of relationships that should be there, that we should, have this attitude towards each other as as if we're all one big family, as if everybody is our brother and sister, and like the only thing we want is to help them. To, if we see a person in need, we immediately rush to help. And people in creative society, they should feel they won't receive anything but, kindness and help and love and, this caring attitude. When everybody feels it, that he's safe, that he's loved, that he's cared for, you know that he will be helped in any situation, then people will also want, to spread this even further and to share the same things with each other. And I think then we won't have any problems, like walking at night, or that a woman is walking somewhere alone, I don't know, in some country, or yeah, God forbid that she's walking somewhere alone at night. We won't be scared of these things, and we won't have any more need to lock our doors with, I don't know, 5 locks, checking them every time. And we won't have need for huge fences that are like 5 meters high, because we're so afraid of each other, afraid of people who are actually, brothers and sisters. And we won't, have to lie to each other about our accomplishments or about the state of our material wealth as well, because we won't have to. Because as if, as you don't have to lie about those things in your own family, where everybody will just be happy for you, where your achievements or everybody's achievements, it should be in the whole society. This is my view. I hope it didn't take too much time with the story. And please, maybe you have some stories from your life or some ideas, or how do you imagine the relationships between people in a creative society?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, relationships between people and family and business relationships and, relationships with strangers. This, modern society needs a touch of what that gentleman did for you that day, that kind of empathy and understanding in a society that's more harmonious than perhaps today's society. Love and gratitude and understanding would be kind of the background noise. I guess the one story I have, it's similar. I was young. It was the first time I had ever traveled on my own. I was maybe 11 years old, or maybe I was 12. And I was traveling on a plane by myself for the first time. And I was sitting next to this older gentleman. And, I fall asleep and I wake up and I look over, and my left arm is on the seat rest, and his arm is right next to mine. And I kind of wake up and I look over, and he is just profusely bleeding all over me. He's got blood gushing out of his arm. He's asleep, and I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. There's blood all over my hand. I'm like really freaking out. I don't know what to do. I can't reach the little comm above me to like do anything. I've got blood all over me. I don't want to move. So it was like a really freaky situation, and I'm by myself. And at one point, a passenger just happens to walk by and sees what's going on, and I don't say anything. I just kind of look up, and I see this passenger looking down at me, and she, immediately looks at me, and then she kind of looks at the arm, and she sees what's going on, and like sees kind of the panic in my eyes, and goes and notifies the airline stewardess, who comes over. And so they kind of just help diffuse the situation a bit, and cleaned up, got me out of the seat. And then I went and cleaned myself up, and were very nice about things. And talked to the guy, the old man next to me. And it just had such a profound impact on me, because it was the first time I had ever flown, and it was such a delicate situation. But I mean, that passenger could have just walked by and said, "Oh, that's not, it's none of my business. It's probably his grandpa, and they'll deal with it." But she stopped and understood that there was something going on there. Could feel that I had this sense of panic in me. and so it kind of stuck with me. So there was definitely even in the lack of verbal communication, and even perhaps physical, there's something, human beings can talk to each other in a sixth sense. There's a deeper understanding than the physical realm that we sense things in or see things in. But in a creative society, this is something that would become more common. Where things second nature, our gut instinct kicks in all the time. It's something that's harnessed and considered a priority, especially when we're younger. When we're kids, instead of really just cramming books into us from early age. We perhaps first 10 years of our lives honing our mental capacities and understanding the beautiful things about life and empathy and our emotions and relationships and whatnot. Between our parents, with friends, with our teachers, with different influential people in our life. This would become more of an important thing. One's emotional being over one's educational career early on in life. Um, in different societies and cultures, across the planet, do support this more often. But in Western culture, it seems like we stick students straight into a 30-student classroom, and off to the races they go, off into the rat race, and they have to learn math and language and writing and history and science, and that's all that really matters. And certainly, a lot of people understand that education is not what it should be, and there has resulted in the modern human being kind of devoid of love and understanding and thankfulness for just even being alive. But I think in a modern society, we really need to create a culture of love at the end of the day. And however that turns out, I think love is what wins out at the end of the day. And that's how I feel about relationships in a more creative society.
Also, like so often in our society, we all have this feeling. As you said, we all can feel each other on such a deeper level, and we all know about it, and we all feel it. And yet somehow our mental, yeah, like I don't know, all just mental noise, all these, like everything in the consumer society is so focused on developing our mind, our consciousness, as you said, like our educational system, everything. It focuses on making us smarter, making us, think faster, think better, think with, I don't know, better images or something. But it's all about thinking, thinking, thinking. It's all about our brain. And yeah, and exactly. But what about our feelings?
Who knows what everyone's going through? Everyone's going through their own little experience with this COVID-19 of self-quarantining. And, hopefully in general, people are doing well and whatnot. And hopefully this self-quarantine doesn't go on for too much longer. But, it's definitely a wake-up call, I think, on our society and how we function as a society. And hopefully, in an ideal world, people are taking time to reflect on their own lives and what it is to treating themselves. How they treat themselves is very important. At the end of the day, we're always stuck in our own minds. And hopefully, it'd be nice if people were reflecting on relationships and what that means. And I don't think society will ever be the same again. And I hope this experience is used to improve our relationships with one another. And at the end of the day, the glamorized part of life are always celebrities and rich people and certain lifestyles. And what's won out and what's become the glue that's kept society together is our relationships with one another, friends and family, and people who work at the grocery store, and doctors and first responders and individuals who perhaps maybe don't have the most glamorized life. People who collect our trash, keeping our streets clean and our sewers clean and running well in our streets, and people, truck drivers and train drivers, getting our food from one location to the other and safely, and you know, so hopefully this going forward, we're able to create a better society for all.
A creative society for all.
Creative society.
Thank you so much for sharing your ideas, for such an inspirational talk. And until next time.
Yep, thank you.